And with me today, I'm joined with Lisa Campion, who is a renowned psychic counselor, Reiki Master Teacher, and energy healer, devoted to empowering empaths, psychics, and healers to embrace and nurture their intuitive gifts. With over 2 decades of experience in professional psychic work and energy healing, Lisa has conducted more than 15,000 individual sessions and has trained thousands through her deeply transformative classes and courses. Her signature healing practices, which are blending intuition with energy medicine and soul level work, have helped individuals access their true essence, release trauma, and step into greater self awareness and empowerment. She's also the author of several number 1 best-selling books, which I'm sure Lisa will talk about in this episode today. But her main mission is to demystify intuitive gifts, support boundaries, and guide soulful healing. Welcome to the show, Lisa. I could have carried on there.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today.
Amazing. Yes, it's amazing to have you here. And I'm so impressed with, your achievements to date. And it'll be amazing for you to tell us a bit more about your journey and what led you to this path.
Well, I was one of those psychic children. So kind of grew up, I was born in the 60s and I grew up like I see dead, one of those I see dead people kids. And I, lived in a time and a place where that was really not okay. Like it wasn't okay to talk about it. Nobody knew what to do with it. It's not like it is today where, we have so much more resources available for people to explore their intuition and their psychic nature. So I spent a lot of my childhood just trying to figure out what was happening and trying to pretend to be normal in public actually. And then fortunately I had hippie parents, so my hippie parents like taught me how to meditate, and they didn't drag me to the church and throw holy water on me, but they didn't also know what to do. I was told I had a really great imagination. Oh my god, Lisa, your imagination. But I would see spirits around me, I would feel energy, and I understood that I was an empath, but there was no word for that at the time. So I was told I was too sensitive. And it was really quite a struggle, like to figure out what was going on. These days we think those things are normal. These days we have words for that. We have like, oh, she's highly sensitive, she's an empath, she's a psychic. But back then it was just sort of on my own with it all. So I started working as a psychic when I was 19. I don't know, I just think when you're 19 you think you can do things and you do them, right? But then I quickly learned I didn't have enough skill, and when I graduated university I went back to school and became a therapist. And for a long time I combined psychic readings with therapy. And then much later, I added energy work into the mix. So I've been teaching Reiki now for 26 years. And these days, I really feel like my mission in life is to create an army of healers to go out there and save the world and help people who are undergoing a psychic opening, a spiritual opening, you know, manage their experience and also maybe bring their gifts to the forefront, because it's really useful to be able to master our intuition and our psychic ability.
Absolutely. So, did you ever have like a ha-ha moment, just a moment where you just thought, I really want to help people?
Yeah, I mean, I it's such a funny story. I was like 12 years old, I think, and I snuck into the movies to see the movie Poltergeist. And and it's like there's this psychic there, and she does this little like paragraph explanation or of like what happens when someone's dead and what ghosts are. And she's a professional psychic. And I was like, you can do that. You can be that. And it was that moment I'm like, I'm gonna do that. That's what I'm gonna do. And I don't know, I was 12. And then I went to the university. It was in the 80s. Then it was the dawn of the new age. All of a sudden, there were more famous psychics, more information. So I got some really good training, and that's about the time that I started working as a psychic. So I also feel like I was just one of those people that sort of born with a mission. Like I always knew that I was for something, and that my mission was about serving humanity, like about helping people. So I just think I came in with that, actually.
Mm.
So I've always been aware of that.
So it's just been your sole divine purpose in life.
Yeah,
So wow,
totally.
I love that. So Yeah, you often describe empathy as a gift that can actually feel like a curse for untrained individuals. How do you actually help clients transform this into their greatest strength?
Well, when we're an empath, it's like really different from just feeling like sympathy for people. Like, if you're just feeling sympathy, you see somebody suffering and you're like, oh, that's so sad. Like, oh, I feel for that person. But when you're an empath, what happens is you actually absorb the energy of other people. So you absorb their feelings, their physical sensations, sometimes their thoughts, their pain, all of that. And then you feel it like it's your feeling. And that's quite challenging. Like let's say you sit next to somebody on the bus and you're feeling fine and they're not. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have this terrible headache and I feel so depressed. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? And you might, I think a lot of us feel like we're crazy or moody or like we don't understand like why we experience the world the way that we do. It can feel very much like a curse or very confusing. Probably we grew up with other people telling us we're too sensitive, quit being so emotional, quit being so sensitive, In my generation it was like quit crying or I'll give you something to cry about, like it was that kind of tough,
Yeah,
tough Gen X kind of
yeah.
like childhood that I had.
Tough
And
love.
then I think we realized like, oh, you know, if we feel things so deeply, it's like having a built-in MRI X-ray machine. And I think so many empaths are drawn to the healing arts or helping caring professions. Because think about it, if you're working with children or animals or elderly people or people who can't explain how they feel very well,
Yeah.
we can sense we're like, oh, I totally get. It's like that massage therapist who puts their hands exactly where your pain is without you having to say anything about it. So when we realize that's it stops feeling like a curse and really begins feeling like a gift. But in order to get there, we need to learn how to manage our energy. So energy hygiene, energy management foundations are absolutely critical. And that's how do we stay grounded in our body? That's how do we clear the energy that we pick up from other people? Because we're like a sponge. They call empaths a psychic sponge. You have to squeeze the sponge so we're not holding on to the experiences that other people's energy. And then we have to protect ourselves. So we get a little more robust when we can go out and about in the world and not get swamped and overloaded by other people's energy. So the first thing I start with is energy management fundamentals, grounding, clearing, protecting, rituals and visualizations and meditations that help us do that. It's life-changing if you're an empath.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. So that was going to be my next question about, some of the tools that you actually used to manage all of this emotional overwhelm. Because I know you also do Reiki healing as well.
Yeah.
How does that actually complement your psychic work?
I think Reiki is such a great place to start. If you're an empath, you should definitely learn it. When we're using Reiki, we're connecting deeply with universal life force energy. So we're not giving our own energy. We learn how to fill ourselves with sort of this unending supply of universal life force energy.
Mm.
So if you're working, with your hands on people or you're working in a caring, giving industry, we get really burned out, don't we? Like we can
Mm.
really suffer from energy drain. And so Reiki really prevents that. It's a really amazing tool and to also learn energy management practices. Um, so I think it's a really powerful foundational place for
Mm.
empaths, but also for psychics, because as we go through the attunements and learning Reiki, it tends to pop open our psychic ability. I always say yoga, meditation, and Reiki are the three things that pop open your psychic ability. The three gateways into this like larger psychic and spiritual world. And those things often create a psychic and spiritual opening for people who do that, like an expansion. So, you know, and that's why I wrote the book that I did, The Art of Psychic Reiki, because I've been teaching Reiki for a long time, and psychic development, intuitive development isn't part of the normal canon of, the traditional practice of Reiki. And to me, I was like, okay, we're doing this thing that pops open our psychic ability. I was teaching Reiki classes and psychic development classes side by side. And I noticed that people took Reiki, they took psychic development, and it really worked because if Reiki is going to pop open your psychic abilities, isn't it great to have some training then we can add it as another tool into our toolkit. Then we can learn how to manage our energy, and we don't, as part of our training. So, as Reiki practitioners, having access to our intuition and our psychic abilities is another beautiful tool.
Yeah.
So I published that book. It's quite radical at the time. It came out in 2018. People
Wow.
were like, how dare you teach these two things together? It's not part of the
Wow.
Reiki tradition. And other people were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for teaching them together, because it's just exactly what we need. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I think it's amazing the work that you're doing. And you also highlight your work as soul work. So could you
Mhm.
explain a bit more about what working at the soul level entails and how someone may actually benefit from such a deeper perspective?
Yeah, there's all different kinds of psychics. Like some psychics are mediums, mediums specialize in talking to people who are have crossed over. And my specialty as a psychic is as soul reader or soul work. And I think that's looking at who we are and the level of the soul, like what your core essence is, that part of you that has it doesn't change in between lifetimes if you believe in past lives, that is like has a story. So your soul sort of has this arc or narrative of what the lessons that you have, what you're amazing at, what you've come here to do, your life purpose, what are your challenges and blocks are, what your connections are with your soulmate, soul family. And all of those things are sort of the story of the nature of you at the level of the soul. And that's my gift as a psychic, is to look at people from that perspective. And I think it's so beautiful because everybody's soul is so incredible. It feels to me like Christmas morning, I'm like unwrapping a package and I'm like, whoa, look at this incredible, beautiful human and all their amazing soul qualities. And I think, a lot of times we're so used to looking at what's wrong with us, what's bad about us, like what's broken, or we sort of this pathologizing of who we are. We're staring deeply into our trauma, which of course we need to do all those things, but we kind of forget what's great about us.
Yeah.
And looking at the level of the soul, I love to help people remember or see what is incredible about them, because there's so much that is.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Yeah, I love that answer. And so, what's your actual perspective on paranormal experiences and how can they actually be understood from a spiritual lens?
I think, there's just sort of places where our world, our 3D, like day-to-day tangible world crosses over with, the astral plane, these other dimensions that exist nearby us. And those sort of touching points of the dimensions are what explains lots of paranormal, like ghosts and hauntings, but also things like UFOs and cryptids and things like that. I don't think they're existing in the same dimension that we are, but there are points where there's like overlap between the dimensions, or there's certain times of the day where they overlap, or there's certain moods we get into, or brainwave states. So when we drop into the alpha brainwave state, that's sort of dreamy, relaxed brainwave, we become very able to perceive these dimensions that sort of are side along to the dimension that we're in. And that I think is what paranormal experiences are. Whether you're seeing a ghost or feeling the energy of something that happened in the past,
Yeah.
or seeing those kind of other paranormal experiences that we can't complain, like, why does nobody find the body of a Bigfoot? Well, I don't think they're in the same dimension that we're in, exactly. And we just are able to, I really like the old fashioned term ESP, extrasensory perception. And I
Mm.
think as we open up spiritually and psychically, we're able to perceive like at a more than we think we can, more than like the visible light spectrum. Because you have ultraviolet and infrared on the edges of those. And I think that as we open psychically, we expand our ability to perceive into these dimensions, and we call that paranormal, because I don't know, that's just what we call it.
Yeah, yeah, wow. I find all that really fascinating. And so you've also, I know that you know some essential techniques, which are important for psychic self-defense. So what's your views on that, and why is that important for people to learn?
Yeah, it really is. And I think as you open psychically, you really need to learn some good psychic self-defense. not to be scared, not in a like, oh, this is terrifying and there's danger, but more like in the sense of like street smarts, like so we can understand how to protect ourselves. And I would say like 80% of the time, what we're protecting ourselves against is the energy of other people, you
Mm.
know, that we can be quite impacted by other people's energy, especially if you're more sensitive and empathic.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's the energy of the places that we visit or live. I don't know, it's like Murphy's law puts me in the haunted hotel room every single time, you know and I mean, that's impactful for me. Like if I want a good night's sleep, I need to learn how to clear that space. So much life happens in hotel rooms, like
Yeah.
good, bad, maybe even if it's not paranormal, that's a space that I want to clear. And
Mm.
then occasionally we encounter spirits that don't have our best interests at heart, and like what's in the haunted hotel room, perhaps, so we need to understand that that's real. So many people have had experiences where they're like, oh, one of my friends just called me yesterday, and she said I was in an Airbnb and there was something in the corner of the room and I didn't have a good feeling about it, you
Wow.
know and she's like, it didn't leave the corner of the room, but it was there. And I was like, that's where psychic self-defense comes in. Like, what do we do when we encounter that? So just like if you have some street smarts, you can walk down this street in any big city in the world and feel safe. you
Mm.
know when we have a little bit of psychic self-defense, we can move sort of through the psychic and spiritual worlds and feel safe, and know what to do and what not to do.
Mm. Definitely, definitely. Some interesting insights there. So, how can someone actually learn to trust their intuition in a big world full of so many distractions?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two parts to that question. And the first one is we need to take time to tune in. And like you said, we live in a very noisy world, so we're not really going to get our intuition if we don't make space and time to be quiet, and that means, maybe it means meditating, but maybe it means quieting. Like if you go for a walk, don't put your earphones in, don't, just be quiet in your own self. If you get in the car, just be quiet. Our best psychic and intuitive insights happen when we're in the alpha brainwave state, and
Mm.
that we can get in there when we're doing like repetitive tasks, driving, washing the dishes, folding the laundry, mowing the lawn, those kinds of things. Our frontal brain is busy with whatever our hands are doing, and we drift into that alpha brainwave, kind of dreamy, highly intuitive, highly creative. Psychics get their best hits in the shower sometimes,
Mm.
because the shower is such like we're so much in the alpha brainwave state when we're in the shower. So we have to spend time in that state. I
Mm.
think the first thing that's really helpful is to start what I call a psychic journal. And just start writing and recording all of the psychic experiences you're already having. Maybe you record your dreams, maybe you record any hits, like first impressions you get with people, any signs, omens, synchronicities. And if you pull oracle cards, like all the things that we get, they're so they're such a big deal in the moment, but if we don't record it, 5 minutes later, you forgot about it, you
Yeah.
know? And so when we record it in one place, we can begin to sort of aggregate that, to cultivate that. And you'll be shocked at how psychic you already are, first of all, and then it will increase it. So we need to be quiet, we need to record. And I think that is kind of like the very, very first step. And then I think some feedback, like I think, oracle cards, I teach my students to use a pendulum to get a yes, no, I don't know answer from their pendulum. Pendulum's not very good at divination, so it's not very good at telling you like, oh, tell me my future. But it is really good for a yes, no. Like let's say you're sleeping in the middle of the night, you wake up and you feel the presence of a spirit in your room, and you think, oh my gosh, that's Uncle Fred. He's just stopping by for a visit. I love Uncle Fred.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that happens is you start doubting. You go down the rabbit hole of doubt. What was that, Uncle Fred? What if I just made that up? How do I know that's real? What if it was something scary?
Yeah.
And this is where you can get your pendulum out and yes, no, I don't know. Was that Uncle Fred?
Oh.
Simple yes, no, I don't know. You know? And
Mm.
if you think it's Uncle Fred and the pendulum says it's Uncle Fred, or maybe you pull some oracle cards, and they say it's Uncle Fred, like then we get that feedback that helps us start trusting that our hits are right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so pendulum's literally like a yes or no answer. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's good to obviously start off with easy questions just so that you understand which way yes is, which way no is.
Yeah. And I think adding the I don't know, show me yes, show me no, show me I don't know. For me, the I don't know is the pendulum just is still, and I'll see it vibrating, but it's not really moving.
Mhm.
And because sometimes the pendulum doesn't know, you
Yeah,
know,
good.
and, you know, that sometimes things can't be known, or there's not enough information at the moment, or you're not asking the right question. Right.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to like strip our complex human lives into a binary yes no answer.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like, is the person I met just my soulmate? Isn't the pendulum is not gonna, that's not gonna be accurate,
True.
because such
Which
a
person?
complex, huge, like how do you boil that down, you know?
Okay.
But is it Uncle Fred? Yes, no is a
Oh,
much better use of it.
simple. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Love that. Thank you. So, wow. So tell us about your books. I know you mentioned one of them. Wow. So which ones are the ones that really touch your soul?
Yeah, I think they do all do in a way. I mean, when you write books that are like become like your children, you know. I wrote one, if you're sensitive or an empath, energy healing for empaths. It's a really lovely book that helps people who are highly sensitive and empathic learn how to manage their energy, how to deal with energy vampires, and you know, how to move through the world powerfully. My latest book is called Awakening Your Psychic Ability, and that's straight up psychic development. So if you're looking for a way to develop your psychic abilities more, that's fantastic. And it comes, there's also the Psychic Awakening Journal, which is more a prompted journal that's like more like a workbook. So those two together, Awakening Your Psychic Ability and the Psychic Awakening Journal together, can create a really powerful psychic development experience. And I'm working on a new book right now. It's not gonna be out for a while, but it's called Sacred Reparenting: Spiritual and Intuitive Healing for Your Inner Child. I do a lot of inner child work with myself and with my students, so I'm super thrilled for that one. I can't wait for it to come out.
Oh, wow. Love that. Thank you. And so just thinking about obviously all the healers that you're currently helping, what do you find is the most common challenges a lot of healers face at the moment?
I think you know, that we're in the middle of this like massive shift in human consciousness.
Mm.
You know, so we're shifting our conscious, people call it the ascension, the shift. It's got a lot of different words to it, but I feel like as healers, we are sort of the way showers. Like we're riding the very front wave of human evolution, and which is exciting and sometimes really challenging, because I think that everyone, and as a healer, you're always your own first and best client. So our stuff comes up all the time, and that's part of the ticket of being a healer, is like being constantly invited to do another layer of healing work on yourself. And I
True.
think as a healer, really dedicating yourself to your inner work is the best thing you can do. I've done it my whole life. I'm always looking, you know, doing inner work. And I notice if I stop doing that, my practice dries up, right? So it's the healer that's done the most inner work that has a line of clients out the door, because our clients can tell. Your clients can tell, like, are you walking the walk, you know, and are you doing what you, are
Mm.
you living your purpose in your own life? People can really feel that. So I think that's the challenge. It's beautiful and it's hard,
Yeah.
because you know, it requires that we're constantly inward looking.
Wow, fantastic advice. So what self-care routines would you offer my or the listeners today and anyone who, may be struggling right now? And the reason I say that is because as empaths, we all know that we're so used to over giving, which can
Yeah.
lead to burnout.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a big thing. So, mm,
I think self-care, you know, so important. And self-care, especially if you're an empath and a chronic overgiver, which I totally am too. Like if we don't put ourselves first on the list, if we're trying to give from that empty cup, that's where we find burnout. So, and I feel like for me, I always have to work through a little bit of guilt or shame. I'm like, is it really okay if I'm taking care of myself? You know, like really, even though I know it is.
exactly.
So, and then self-care, self-repair is also really important. And that's going back into the past and doing any cleanup. You know, if you've had trauma, if you've had, which we all have, if you know that that's still impacting you. So continuing to work on it. And I think it's layers. It's not usually a one and done. It's like what's coming up right now. So self-care, self-repair, and self-soothe. Soothing, can we calm and regulate our nervous system? If I had a magic wand, I would train everyone. I would have everyone learn how to soothe themselves, how to regulate their nervous system, regulate their emotions. I feel like we would like literally have no wars, we'd have no violence if everyone knew this really foundational skill and how to do that. And as healers, way shower sensitives, we better do that. And it's not part of our normal, it's not something you learn in third grade. It totally should be. How do you regulate and manage your emotions? How do you regulate and manage your nervous system? When we do those things, self-care, self-repair, self-soothe, it's like we can live in the world masterfully instead of feeling like we're, we're just in a state of burnout and shock and it's horrible to even be here.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, thank you. And so, what's in the future for you?
I'm super excited about my finishing my book. I'm right in the middle of it, so it's a bit of a trial at the moment, but that's really I think what I'm excited about, and just continuing to mentor psychics and healers, and um, helping people who are waking up psychically understand their gifts. So so many people are having psychic openings where maybe you're doing plant medicine, maybe you're doing meditation or yoga or something that opens you. And I love, because it was so painful for me to not have any guidance or help when I was going through that, I find it so satisfying to be able to help other people handle that more gracefully than I did it.
Beautiful, thank you. So, where can my people find you?
So my website is lisacampion.com. I invite you to come by and visit. I have Reiki classes there, psychic development classes from all levels, from beginner, intermediate, advanced, and pro level. I have a pretty fun YouTube channel that has a lot of free stuff on there. I have my own podcast called The Miracle of Healing. And that's, I think, but come by my website, lisacampion.com. That's the place.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'll be adding all the links into this episode. And it's been such a pleasure having you on, Lisa. Thank you so
Oh,
much for your amazing insights into,
thank you.
this amazing work that you're doing. Oh, I love
Thank you
it.
so much for having me there. If having me here, it's my absolute pleasure to be here.
Amazing. Thank you. So, my listeners, hope you enjoyed the show. Please do reach out to Lisa if you have any questions about her work, and please do give her a follow. Check out her website and her podcast. I'm sure she'll be honored to hear from you. So, until next time, take care, my friends. I'll see you then.